So this is some deal analysis. So this is a property that Brian, BJ, and I bought in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I started hunting this when it first hit the market at $140,000. I threw 2 cash offers and 4 creative offers. They wouldn't talk to me about anything. It was listed with an agent. I was able to talk to the agent a couple of times. The agent got me on the phone with the seller, pitched the creative, was all about it, and was like, all right, give me like a month to finish trying to sell this thing. If that doesn't work, then I'll take your terms offer. Terms was at 120. Nothing. I stayed on it. They dropped it to 100,000. We then contracted it at 85. Did our home inspection, renegotiated it down to 80 because we knew it needed a little more work. We bought this place for 80. Here's roughly the pictures of what it looked like. Or no, the exact pictures of what it looked like. So they updated the kitchen, the floors were in great shape. New carpeting, the windows were kind of older. And this wall right here was not attached at the bottom or the top. It was literally held on by a rotten 2x4 holding that whole thing together. It has since been fixed, thankfully. The bathroom, first glance, looked totally perfect, but there's nothing protecting this wall here or here where you can't see. So we ended up pulling the clawfoot out and we just put a regular shower in because we didn't want a wet kitchen. Even if you get those little curtain things that hang from the ceiling for this style, it's not great and you're relying on a tenant. This we're going Section 8 with, so we didn't want more issues, so we figured to spend a few more dollars up front now and save it later. Oh yeah, there's the other side of the wall. So this is a 4-bedroom, 1 bath. Room sizes are actually pretty decent. You can't hardly tell here. Yes, the house is purple. We kept it purple. We actually finished painting the whole front of it purple as well. Because as you can tell, they didn't finish, that giant spot right there.
Ran out of paint?
They must have. Okay, so that's all that. All right, so. So now the analysis parts. This is our calculator that we use. It's just an Excel spreadsheet. So breaking our numbers down, sale price is 80. We were projecting between 13 and 1,500. We put it up for rent for 14, based on what Section 8 was saying. Taxes are about $1,600 a year. Insurance $1,000. Because this place was already renovated and we knew we had just a little bit of renovation going, we decided to keep only 5% in vacancy and maintenance, obviously because we're tenanting it right now. Management, I'm going to manage it for us, and which is why that's not 10%, but typically we keep 30%, 10 in each of these columns. We used
I don't follow what you just said about the vacancy and
so this is our reserves. So every month we create a war chest for vacancy, maintenance, repairs, anything like that. So that way, if and when an issue happens or when a tenant moves out, we have those reserve funds, so we're not digging into our own profits.
Gotcha.
We already have that nest egg basically set aside.
And what is your goal percentage on each of those categories?
Typically, I do 10% on each.
Okay, for a total
30%.
of the war chest. Okay.
Yeah, so we put aside 30%. Personally, I still manage 90% of everything that I own. I own currently 26 stores.
I'm sorry, that's 30% of your monthly cash flow.
Correct.
Every month.
Correct. If you're hiring management out, that's gonna be 10%, pretty much across the board, any state you're looking at. If you have something in Maryland that you want me to look at, I charge 8%. But because I'm partners with these guys, I'm not charging the full amount. Obviously, I'm not local either, so part of that just goes towards, we do have a guy on site or in the area that is basically like a, charge as you go type property manager.
Handyman.
No, it's actually our agent up there,
Oh.
but he's an investor as well. And just has all the connections. So instead of paying him every single month,
I see.
we just use him for when we need it.
And you just kind of pay per bill, basically.
Correct.
Expense. Got it.
Because I already have a property management company, I already have all the systems set up.
Mhm.
It's easy enough for me just to collect the rents and then pass them out to the partners. We are our own hard money lenders on this. Brian pulled money off a credit line, BJ pulled money off a credit line to purchase it. I pulled money off a credit line to renovate it. All in, you're at 85 for closing, wasn't quite 5. I think we're at 11 on the renos. We just had our Section 8 inspection yesterday. They dinged us on a couple little things. It'll get knocked out this weekend, but we should have this thing tenanted in another 2 weeks. So now the fun part. So based on 1,300, 52 a month going to management, 133 to taxes, insurance, reserves. So our total monthly expenses just under $400. Factor in our mortgage, DSCR refinance. Once we put a tenant in there, we'll start the process. But that's going to be, excuse me. So as long as this thing appraises for, what is it, 110, I believe, 115. Excuse me. Then we will be able to pull all of our funds back out. If we have to leave a little bit in, it's not the end of the day. It might take us an extra 6 months, but once that's all done, we now have an infinite return on a property.
So I told you I was clueless, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, refinance. So y'all put all this money in, y'all got these
Correct.
3 lines of credit, right? So
Correct.
y'all all in, y'all got a lot of money out of pocket,
Correct.
right? So the refinance is to put that money back in your pocket.
Correct.
Right
So then
away.
turn it around, go use that money, go buy another one.
Right.
It's the BRRRR method.
And
That's
yeah,
all it is.
and so now you just have a monthly payment that is less than what you're getting in rent.
Correct. So our monthly mortgage payment is going to be that 461 number right there. So then our monthly profits each month, a little over $400 a month.
After the payment.
After all of our expenses are
Get
paid,
the management.
after every single thing is paid, all the reserve funds are put aside. The 3 of us are going to split the 440 a month.
Gotcha.
And that's only based on 1,300.
Now, question, that refinance amount that you got back, did that put any immediate cash, above paying off those lines of credit?
We haven't done the refinance yet.
Okay.
In a perfect world, yes, that will happen.
Mhm.
Because when you refinance, it's tax-free,
Mhm.
because it's debt. You can't tax debt.
Right.
So, perfect world, this thing will appraise for like 130,
Mhm.
and we'll put 10 or 15 grand in our pockets.
Sweet.
So then the pro forma numbers, so this column I always use for the low end, the right column I use for the high end profit, or for the rents. So we are
Can you
looking-
explain pro forma for those that don't know?
Yes, so pro forma is everything's renovated, you're tenanted, and you're getting the top rent. So if the average area is 1,400 and you can pull off 1,500, there's your pro forma number. Even if 1,400 is the top rent, that's the market rent. That's your pro forma number. So if we could push it to 15, we're looking at splitting 640 a month. But we marketed it for 1,400, and that's what our application is in at. The hard thing with Section 8, they don't tell you what they're gonna pay until after you pass their inspection. So we've been waiting now 3 weeks just to get that inspection. Now we have to have a re-inspection. So Section 8 can come back and say, all right, we're only gonna pay 1,200. Okay? If we decide to take that, then we create a separate invoice for that tenant for $200 every single month.
Hmm.
It can be for things like, in Pennsylvania, appliances are not included. So we can rent our appliances for $200 a month. So there's multiple different ways to structure things depending on what someone else is willing to pay. So then that tenant's portion will be roughly 20 to 30% of that 1,400, or 12 if that's all they're offering. But the numbers that we always try to look at, number one is gonna be the cap rate. I personally look for a minimum of an 8 cap. If it's 8% or higher, which is your capitalization rate, your cash on cash return, basically the percentage of what you put in to what you're getting out. So anything 8 or higher, or if it's a 6 and you know there's a large value add, for the right price, we would consider that as well. So just say we bought this thing for 50, knowing that we had to put more money into it, okay? But then we can still pull our money out. That's still a good deal. Cap rate on that would be a lot lower, but once we did the value add, renovations, cleaned everything up, then we could raise the cap rate on capitalization rate.
What Zoom should I look up to learn about cash on cash return?
I will have to double check that when I get back to you. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
If you go online to like Investopedia, there are a lot of resources there on how to do things like net operating income, cash on cash return, cap rate, pretty much any of the acronyms or formulas you see on the spreadsheet. Investopedia will break it down for you.
See, systems guy.
Thank you, BJ.
You're welcome.
Do you generally want a higher cap rate or a lower cap rate?
Higher the cap rate, the better.
Okay.
Because then your annualized ROI or your cash on cash return is even 18%, 18.21% on 1,300.
Okay.
So that your annualized ROI is the same thing as your cash on cash return.
Okay.
So roughly within 6 months, we will have $0 in this thing from the day we purchased it. Infinite return. Rinse and repeat, do it again. The BRRRR method is not the greatest strategy out there, but it's the strategy that works best for the level that we are at. Like Pace, he'll still do some, but he doesn't talk about it a lot because he doesn't like the strategy. I get it, it's not him. He's way up here. He's way up here. We're somewhere down here trying to get to the next level. So until we have enough properties, this is the strategy that works best for us.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
This is actually a variation of the BRRRR method you might have heard from Bigger Pockets. Typically with the BRRRR method, you get a hard money loan and you need to season that loan for at least 6 to maybe even 12 months before you can refi. What we're doing is called a cash BRRRR. Once we invest in property and stabilize the rent with a tenant, as soon as we get the security deposit and the signed lease, we can start executing the DSCR refi. That only takes a month. So whereas a normal BRRRR, you might be all in for 12 months before you can refi, with a cash BRRRR, you might only be in for 2 or 3 months, and then you can refi. It's way faster turnaround.
Cash BRRRR, creative BRRRR, and all the same. But essentially, we are, the three of us are our own hard money lenders. So yeah, within a few months, we'll all be making some good cash flow off of it. Obviously, if it was just one person, that monthly number looks a whole lot better. But by doing it with the three of us, none of us had to max out our funds. We could still use our own funds to do other projects, but still working together on this one. There's another property down the street from this that's been on the market for quite a while, that if the timing lines up, we're probably gonna put an offer on that one as well. Condition on it's, I think, actually even better than this one. But pretty good numbers. Any questions? Any more questions? Good breakdown? Yes, no? Easy to follow? I know I ramble and I go on tangents, so I just want to double check on that.
Where can people get a copy of this spreadsheet so they can use it themselves?
This one I did not get from subjectto. Email me, I'll send you a copy.
And that email is?
My email is Chris Thompson Holmes, H-O-M-E-S, @gmail. I'm trying to to break this TV today. All right, if nobody has any other questions, that wraps up our power hour for today.
Thank you, Chris.